Happy Monday, guys. Texas Homer, Ian Boyd. Eric and Charlie had something to do today, so we switched around the schedule. So the Wednesday show is now the Monday show. Monday will be Wednesday. So Ian's on today. Wednesday, we will have Eric and Charlie. And it was a nice Easter. I enjoyed it. And you guys, I saw that nice picture of your family, Ian. You got something good going there, man. You got a solid roster. You actually might hear that roster as well because his kids are off for a Monday staff development, and so they're downstairs. So you might actually get to know his children. Before we keep going, guys, InsideTexas.com, $1 for 4 months. The best spot to go for all recruiting, the end of spring game, and of course, baseball is killing it. Speaking of baseball, y'all need to come to the Inside Texas Ultimate Tailgate giveaway this Friday. Texas versus Texas A&M in baseball. Texas is still number one in the nation. A&M got off to a horrible start, but have been putting the wins together lately. So they're hot right now, and of course, Texas is number one in the nation, and it's Texas versus A&M. You're going to want to be there. And this giveaway is brought to you by Academy, guys. You can win a Blackstone griddle, a Yeti 32-ounce hard cooler, Texas flag canopy, 2 Texas folding chairs, 2 Ramblers. No purchase necessary to enter or win, guys. Limit 1 per person. You have to be in person. But you can get all of this just for showing up and hanging out this Friday at the Dish. Look forward to seeing you guys there. There's one. I was just saying it. There's one. Ian, how you doing, man? How's your Easter?
Good. Since I posted that picture, scientists have begun studying how it was possible that I ended up with such a beautiful family.
It is nice to see
that guy.
I know it's always very underhanded. It's like, what do you guys mean? He's built a beautiful family, man. That's what it's about.
My friend, the late Jonathan Sharks, actually a part of his testimony of becoming a Christian was that he hung out with me and my wife, and he was like, "Wait,
there's a better way.
Wait a minute, why is he married to her?"
Yeah. There had to have been some intervention here.
Really, this is the King of Kings that's guiding this guy's life. There's no higher God than whatever made this possible for him.
Yep. All right.
A true story.
Good morning, AR, Drew, Roaster, Manchester Red. Good to see you guys. All right. So last week of spring ball, we have the vaunted spring day, our fan day coming up, which me and Ian are very sad about because we love to watch the game and pick it apart and try to get a feel for things. We won't be able to do that this year. Hopefully, maybe in the future it gets figured out, but I'm a little bummed about that. But what we're going to do is go through the depth chart, the roster in this final week, and kind of talk through it, see what we like, and then what we want to keep going. They were not happy with us on Friday, Ian. Our live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We were not positive enough about the developments. So maybe today we'll give them a little bit more.
Okay. I think that people are just looking at it wrong. It's not as dour as we were. I'm not really worried about interior D line.
Yeah,
I am a little bit, but I think
it was late Friday. We had all had a long week. I think our energy levels were just low in general.
Well, so a little inside talk here. Before we got on, Coach had a anonymous source on the Maryland guy that was in position to know about the Maryland guy, and the scouting report was grim, I would say. Is that a fair word to use?
Yeah. I think it was a combination. I think it was just because I know our energy levels were not great. And then on top of that, so it's a weird mix, man, where like you want to give them what we think, but if you give them too much down, they're like, hey, man, we need a little bit more propaganda in there.
Well, we've been pumping up injuries. We'd already been pumping him up the previous few days. So if you were just coming in on Friday, we didn't have that much more to say.
Yeah.
But I think that was huge. I think injuries is an amazing addition.
Yeah.
This our roster?
Yeah. Look at this, man. On the spreadsheet. I did this in the beginning of spring ball. So I know Du Bois left. I added injuries. I added Mosley. but there might be a couple other little misses here if somebody left. But let's talk through the positions, and what we think.
Mm.
Let's go with let's create a little game about it. Feel good, comfortable, need to see more. How about that? Like those kind of 3 tiers, and we can just kind of talk through the positions and see what we like.
That's generous.
Yeah. All right, quarterback.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think we both think Arch is going to be a star. And if he misses a couple games like Quinn Ewers was prone to do, I think they're at a place where it just depends on which games he misses as to whether that tanks the season. I feel solid that Owens or Lacey could get us through a like Vanderbilt or home against I'm trying to think through the schedule real quick off the top of my head and I'm drawing blanks. A home game, I think a backup could get us through. There seems like there's some question as to whether Trey Owens or KJ Lacey is going to end up being the backup.
Yeah, Eric put that if it was today, Trey Owens would be the second string, but I guess there has been some like competition.
But you know what? The thing about that is that if it were today, the portal's still open. You know?
Yeah.
Like that, how that goes in the fall when the portal's not open anymore is going to be interesting. But Trey Owens, even if he's in a tough spot, he should absolutely stick it out because you got to be thinking like, I can improve and have the first go at this in the fall. Like, I just don't think spring transfers are wise for quarterbacks.
I don't either. And if Arch stays 2 years, I'm trying to see the window. I like Trey, man. So it's like trying to see. Of course, selfishly, you want to keep him, right? Because then you just have basically KJ left. And that's not a good spot. But I like Trey, man. I liked him in the spring game last year. I guess it's just with Trey, it's the offense hasn't 100% clicked is kind of what some of the reporting is. So
they don't have the ideal supporting cast for him. Like the ideal supporting cast for him would be what they had with Quinn Ewers, where they have like the ability to get big with tight ends and run the ball without involving the quarterback, obviously. And then some like real big play weapons outside because he's got a big arm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give him like shot plays outside and let him like just hand off a lot and control the game, I think no question Trey Owens could get you through a bunch of games with good run game and defense. But without those blocking tight ends, I don't know how you do that. And injuries is not a solution there at all.
Right.
And then
receiving tight end.
For the last few months, me and you have both been like, in a pinch, just play Malik Agbo as a tight end.
Right.
And all of a sudden you got a big jumbo power set again. And Malik Agbo just transferred out.
Yep.
I mean, maybe they could just do the same thing with Jaden Chapman, so that's not like over, but or somebody else. But yeah, I worry with Trey Owens that the personnel in the offense is not the right fit for him.
But also for this year for sure, as a big pocket quarterback. But I mean, he wouldn't even start until 2 years from now, 3 years really. So it's like it could be a totally different ball game by then. It's just, do you want it right? Do you want to stick it out? And here's the risk reward, right? Do you want to stick it out? And maybe after those, in your 3 years from now, Dia Bell beats you out. Or do you want to take the chance that you're Mac Jones? Or do you go somewhere else where your starting is more guaranteed because he's good enough to start elsewhere? So the quarterback thing is always tricky, man. And I generally agree with them both ways, man. Like leaning towards leaving, actually, for most of them, because it's just high risk, high reward.
I actually think all quarterbacks should transfer to small schools, play immediately, and then transfer up.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to do that because you have to pass up guaranteed money.
Mhm.
If you get recruited to Texas, then you have guaranteed good NIL money. And so it's like, you don't want to risk that. But I mean, how many NFL guys came out of smaller schools? The most important thing for a quarterback is getting
Showcasing.
reps. Not even just a showcase. It's you need live reps to improve. Without that, you just don't get good. Like even Brett Favre told that. They're like, what would you advise young quarterbacks? Because he went to like Southern Miss, right? And he's like, you need to go somewhere where you can play. He's like, having the chance to play is the most important thing. There's no diminishing returns at quarterback for reps. You don't max out.
Yeah, but it's even, like you said, it's even tougher in the NIL era, like to make that decision, and the prestige, right, and the facilities, all that stuff makes a big difference. So KJ Lacey, we've heard good things about him too. He's still a first-year quarterback, so he still does first-year quarterback stuff. But things are looking good there, and you like KJ Lacey, so do I.
Yeah, when we watched him together on like signing day, and just like kind of went through his highlights, it's kind of like I don't remember what frame of mind you were in, but I went into it being like, yeah, Diabell, Arch Manning, we'll see if he ever plays. Oh, that was kind of nice. Oh wow, that translates.
Yeah.
Well, he made that read, and it was he
and
got
like the right mix of mobility. Like he's not a running quarterback, but like, okay, he could escape the pocket effectively at that level. And remember, we're hyper fixated on pocket mobility after Quinn.
Yeah.
So it's like we realized how important it is in Sark's offense to be able to move in the pocket. So I remember seeing that. And I think the first thing too, with like his junior year or whatever, he had Ryan Williams, right? So everyone was kind of waiting to be like, all right, what happens when you don't have the best receiver in the nation? And he still conducted the offense well. So it's these things too that I really like KJ Lacey. Did you see the promo they put out? He does a tour of the academic facility. It's like a Fresh on the 40. It's a UT Twitter thing. But he gives the whole tour. So so you see how smart he is and all of that. Yeah. But also picking him, right, as a freshman to give a tour. That kind of stuff was interesting. So I like Lacey a lot too. And then you got Diabell coming. So we're in a good spot, man, but you're in that we got really talented guys. If only you could play two quarterbacks at a time.
I like also you look at Lacey and he looks like I can't wait to see him before and after. Because he's got like that Colt McCoy thing going on right now where he's like 175, 180 pounds or something.
Yeah.
And you just know with enough time and protein shakes, he's going to end up at like 200 or something, and he's going to be a different person.
Yeah.
And it's going to help him. Like his quickness is not going to go away from adding that muscle. So I'm getting kind of excited for KJ Lacey.
So
not too excited. Like we can live in the Arch era for years and years, but
yeah, I agree. All right, running back. Feeling better, right? Christian Clark was very important to me, feeling a lot better there. What we've seen is, early returns were like, hey, we really like Jarrett Gibson. Gibson looks like the lead horse, that kind of reporting. But it seems like Trey Wisner is back to the top of that pile. Non-surprising, right? After last year, the mindset, the toughness, you love Trey Wisner and you love all his intangibles too. But I don't know if we saw the leap that we were wanting to see from week one in the running back room. I do feel better about the depth. And then we hope CJ Baxter's back. But I feel better about the running back room than I did at the beginning of spring, but I'm not like in love with it. So how do you feel about it, Ian?
I'm just resigned to they have enough quality depth, I think, that they probably won't go to the portal, and maybe they can't afford to go to the portal with the other pieces that they need. Like you have too many rooms you have too many guys in this room that are like okay to do anything without like pushing somebody out. So if Wisner is healthy and good and adding weight, like that's such a good floor. Gibson is, I don't know. Gibson reminds me of some of the guys they had with Mac Brown, where like I just don't know if he's very. It seems like he's going downhill, and if it's there, it's there, and if it's not, it's not.
I do like his ability to add 4 yards onto runs when it is there. His falling forward ability is really good.
Yeah, but he's like sneakily small. If Baxter gets healthy and stays healthy, Baxter is probably better. What I don't love is that Christian Clark is good and he's healthy, and they're talking about how agile he is and how he's hitting different areas of the field and stuff. But apparently it's not like I don't know if it's based on like good vision and reads yet. Yeah. He's like athletic, but he's not hitting like where he's like seeing things develop and hitting the right spots.
That's why a spring game would be really nice
to know. Yeah, I think we can sort of surmise from the reports that that's not quite happening though.
Yeah.
So,
but they also like the young guys too, man.
Yeah, the young. I kind of like Simon a lot. I think Simon is my kind of running back.
They've liked Stewart's speed too, and his just like ability, like willingness to hit the hole. So it's just tricky. I also think that Bijan, Rojo, Brooks have really skewed my understanding of the running back position and my expectations for it. We know that Sark's going to put out a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't know how much of that means that Sark's schemes produces 1,000-yard rushers versus that he just has an odd string of 1,000-yard rushers. So I'm not worried about being able to get there. I don't doubt that this running back room is going to be able to run. We saw what happened when you got versus Arizona State. We saw what happened versus Georgia. We saw what happens versus Ohio State. And fans fall for this every year. They're like, well, hey, he had 1,000 yards. It's like, it doesn't matter what we do against the middle part of the schedule or the weak part. It only matters what you do against the top of your schedule. And so you have to be able to perform in those levels. And if that all running back, absolutely not. That's offensive line. But that's what I worry about. I don't worry about this room running against 3/4 of this schedule.
Yeah. Sark creates such good run pass conflicts that they're always going to chew up yardage. And they also have a lot of scheme.
Right.
Which has diminishing returns against the top teams that actually scout you. But they'll play like the regular weak opponent, and it's like they're running like 5 different schemes from 12 different formations, and it's a lot. And then they just pop people for consistent gains. Like Sark finds a matchup or a scheme that the other team's not hitting quite well, and then he just like works them with it. And then there's like a play action element to attach to it, and a screen element attached to it, and a tight end leak element attached to it. And they're just like gashing people, but then they play Oklahoma, who scouts the heck out of them, or a playoff game, and that all just dries up.
Yeah, that's going to be the big
Bijan.
Yeah, so that's the trick with the running back room. I like all these guys. It's just, previous years we were like, hey, we have Bijan going into it. So I think that's the big thing. Before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Wide receiver. We had Emmett Mosley, who I think me and you really like from Stanford. How are you feeling about the room?
I don't feel good enough about the room yet.
Okay.
I need to know that there's one more guy that can get open outside against man coverage. It could be DeAndre Moore or Parker Livingstone. It could be anybody on this list. It could be Emmett Mosley. But I don't know that any of these guys can beat an Ohio State or a Georgia cornerback outside one-on-one. And I either want them – either that needs to happen or they need to get that guy in the portal. So
Yeah. And you say that the first reaction from the fans are going to be like, what are you talking about? We have Ryan Wingo. What do expand on that, being able to beat a corner on the outside?
we've never seen Ryan Wingo be able to get open against good outside future pro cornerbacks.
And why is that? Because they're going to say we've seen Ryan Wingo catch fades. We've seen that.
Yeah,
What? Give us the details.
We just haven't seen that level of skill and getting the right release and getting open and then bringing the ball in. I'm not saying he might make that leap and do it. We haven't seen it, and we haven't really heard it from practice either.
Well, he's been hurt.
Yeah. Even before that.
Yeah,
Even
he
before
played
that.
for like a week and a half. Yeah.
When people talk about him, it's like it sounds more like this is not quite fair because Isaiah Bond was actually better than this, but you throw screens to Ryan Wingo against a bad team, you hit him with like a reverse or a screen or double move or something, and he's gonna cook because he's so big and fast and freaky. But it's just a different thing to get open against real coverage from somebody that can't just blow by them and then bring in the catch while they're like near you. It's kind of like there's a big difference between hitting your open shots in a regular season NBA game and then doing it against playoff intensity and playoff rosters, like Rockets fans found out the other night. Like it's a higher bar. When you play in the playoffs, you're going to play these teams that have dudes outside at corner that are experienced and that can stick with you, and you got to be able to get that bit of separation with skill, and then you got to get the ball in.
Okay. And then DeAndre Moore is our slot receiver, but he also did not play this spring with injury. So what I thought potentially is that you have Wingo outside like your boundary, your single side receiver. And then, more in the slot, what we're going to do for the other outside guy. But the more I've watched Mosley, I'm okay with Mosley going into the slot and potentially moving more outside, even though we haven't seen a ton of that. I don't know if I've seen it at all, but I'd have to go look for it. Because of Moore has that NFL speed, they always talk about Moore being fast. So that's the kind of the trick part. And then, of course, if you can add a, first 3-rounder in the portal, you would do it. But maybe that's an answer is Andre Moore plays Z field side receiver, and then you put Mosley in the slot.
Yeah, it's possible Mosley or Moore would be good out there. I don't know. So
right.
Can you go to that just to wrap up the receivers? Can you bring up that living rent free in UT comment?
Yes. Every time Wingo beat a corner deep, it was terribly thrown deep ball that needed elite adjustment skills.
The reason for this, everybody listen, I'm going to defend Quinn Ewers here.
Whoa.
The reason that the deep throws to Wingo did not look very good when he was they would take shots at him in like the A&M game and the Georgia SEC championship game, maybe another game. They kept trying to throw deep balls to him, especially around the red zone. And the throws were never on the track that Wingo was on. Now, we've all seen a number of post routes that looked like that Quinn Ewers threw, and where it was like Quinn Ewers' fault, okay? Yeah, these were not Quinn Ewers' fault. These were like throws where he's like throwing to the outside, and Wingo had to take an inside release to get down the field. Or like things like that where like Wingo could not get to this – on those like fade balls, those are generally just timing shots. The quarterback is throwing to a spot on the field and ideally like laying it up where his receiver has a chance to get under it and bring it down. And his receivers were not getting to those spots or not Wingo in particular was not getting into the spots where Ewers could hit it. Ewers is not like an amazing deep ball thrower, but he is pretty good on fades, and those were not on him.
I remember, I think it was Georgia where the releases inside versus outside were a problem for Wingo. But also, I mean, there's a part of me too that I'll turn it back on Quinn. It's like you need to be working with your young wide receiver. Like they need to know exactly what releases they're hitting there. So it's also there's kind of that thing too, is like we shouldn't even be having that problem.
If you're getting jammed up though, you're just trying to get down the field however you can because you only have an instant to do it, or else.
Also, too, like look, if he's going inside on an outside release, a lot of the times those must outside releases are because there's another concept that they're forcing that corner to turn his back to. So not inside releasing when you must outside release also breaks the play in other ways. So it's like that's the thing too, is like that's why it's important because a lot of those fade balls, man, are not actually fades. They're must outside releases, turn the corners back, and then you can get the crosser to come and hit. You're never trying to alert the fade there. So there are some of those things too, where just like that can have issues like with the actual concept coming in behind it.
I think some of those though also were like 3x1 backside isolation. Like let's get Wingo 1-on-1 and throw it up for him, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Although he did actually almost bring in like one of them.
Yeah, so the wide receiver room is like not saying, "Hey, we don't have XYZ." It's like we through spring we have not determined that we have XYZ. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would really like to know you have it.
Yeah. But let's talk about some of the down roster. Parker Livingstone had a really big early spring, that's for sure. Aaron Butler has gotten good praise. Emmett Mosley, of course, we added. We've heard good things about this entire room. So maybe this year they max out, but I mean, I definitely feel good about next year. So that kind of aspect.
When was the last time Texas had a great receiver that they recruited?
Worthy.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, they knew each other at Bama.
He was great, right?
Oh, you're arguing with the greatness of Worthy?
No, I'm not arguing. He was really good.
But I would say Worthy, but was he recruited at Texas? No, not technically. They knew each other when Sark was at Bama, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah.
I
always hear that they like all their young guys, but I've yet to see a young guy. DeAndre Moore's like the closest to a guy that they liked out of high school. They recruited him out of high school. He came to Texas and produced.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we'll have to see the development, but also we've had a lot of position coach change at that position. We're on our third wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that makes a difference. But I can see Worthy, we recruited, blah, blah, blah. But it's also easy just to go snatch a early round wide receiver out. It's almost like, why would you pay this much down roster for these young wide receivers when we know that you can just get a plug and play for a year, you know?
Yeah.
That position's becoming interesting in the NIL era. Because then you get players like a Golden, right? Not even talking about his rise, but you get a player that's a good wide receiver that's like, look, man, the air raid's not the move for me to put tape on for NFL film. So where can I go to a pro style? Okay, I can go to Sarks. So it's not even that we're seeking wide receivers, which we are, but other wide receivers around the country there's only 4 or 5 schemes realistically that you would want to even go to get NFL tape, and Sark's one of those at the top.
Yep. So
yeah,
they just portal even more than they already are.
I do think portal with wide receiver makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Wingo, but he hasn't been maximized as of yet. Yep. I mean, you see it when he goes striding down the field. You're like, okay, that's an NFL athlete. So this is one. Jonte was supposed to be that guy. So I was watching. Jonte's back working out with Margin Hooks. I saw it on Twitter. They were posting it, and 19-year-olds do some real dumb stuff, man. So if he can get his mind right and all that stuff, he'll be all right.
Didn't he like good bananas though?
Not really, man. When we're talking about the history of football players, not even close. Like like the history of football players, that was pretty mild, dude. I mean, we have people running like drug rings and murderers. So no, I don't think Jonte Cook did anything irredeemable in that regard.
No, I just thought he went bananas. That's all.
Yeah, but compared to his coworkers, pretty mild. But I saw him working out with Margin. He still looks awesome, man. So as long as he can figure that out, he's going to be a damn good receiver. He's still an NFL receiver. I mean, luckily, people have a short mindset if he does well. But I was thinking when I was watching Jonte run his routes, he's a special route runner, man. And he would have been really nice to have on this roster if it wouldn't have gone south. But it did go south, so there's nothing to do about it. But I would have felt a lot better about this room.
Should go to like a UTSA or something.
Yeah. So hopefully he figures it out, man. But I would have felt better about outside receiver, slot, all that stuff if Jonte was in the room. But it is what it is.
Did you see my idea? I think I mentioned this before, where the University of Texas system turns UTSA into a farm team for the Longhorns.
Yeah.
They just like subsidize them and hire their coaches, and then they just like Trey Owens, we're sending you to UTSA to get some reps.
Yeah.
We'll call you back up in a couple of years.
Like G League or the minors.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all, but that's honestly, it is a good idea, man. If you could have Trey Owens, whatever quarterback, starting for 2 years at UTSA.
And if you're UTSA, that's kind of cool. If it's like, you know what would serve KJ Lacey better than being here would be we make AJ Milwee the head coach of UTSA.
Yeah. Well, they do it in soccer. They do that all the time. They loan down their players into a lower league and then they develop them. It's really soccer has some of the smarter.
Well, the NFL should be doing this.
Yeah.
The NFL and the NBA should both be doing this, but they don't because they don't have to because the colleges do it for them.
Right.
Like they do in most industries in America. Like most industries aren't directly trying to train their workforce. They just outsource it to the public schools and the college system. And it's like, why should we take that expense on?
Yeah.
But then I'll tell you why, because if you really want an amazing quarterback, you want him getting reps. You don't want him
hanging out.
Yeah.
All right, tight end. We got a good question from Jesse here. Is Shannon a good enough blocking tight end, and is January disruptive enough DT to win a natty?
Those are both really good questions. Is Shannon a good enough blocking tight end for what? I guess for him to be valuable this year, he needs to be a good inline blocker. Good enough to fend off Texas from just using a sixth offensive lineman. And then also, unrelated to that, good enough as a receiver where that would be also like not just use linemen. Which now that Ogbo's gone, that bar is probably lower because Ogbo could actually catch the ball and run routes. It was wild.
Yeah. I liked Ogbo, man. I was kind of sad to see him leave. I get it, but I always liked him, man.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know on Shannon. I don't know if they really need him to be, though. So that's pretty low on the concern list. Is January a disruptive enough DT to win a natty? That may be.
Let's hit that when we hit DTs.
Okay.
Yeah. But keep that in mind. Don't let me forget that one.
Yeah, we could bring it back up or something, maybe.
So tight end, me and Ian feel really good about injuries, man. I love his reliability. Like that 90+% catch rate is pretty unheard of. Now he is targeted short a lot, so it's going to cheat that number, but still 90% is 90%. That's a crazy, crazy catch rate, especially with the quarterback that we have a lot of questions with. We have questions with Arch, but offensively, right? We were asking questions about the wide receiver room. If you can give someone close to the quarterback, like a tight end, a slot, something near him, physically more near him, and he's reliable, that I think will do a lot to calm an Arch Manning. He's not a blocker, though, so that's what we have to figure out.
They're going to cook weaker teams with how many good dudes they have as inside receivers. Now they have injuries in Mosley and Moore. Like they're just going to, the run pass conflicts they're going to create in the middle of the field with those guys moving around are going to just cook. Like average defenses, bad defenses, maybe like good defenses, not great defenses. Like all those other ones, they're going to be able to manufacture so many open dudes because of what injuries and Mosley in particular can do in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really nice.
Spencer Shannon, we just talked about him. Question mark. Will Randall, probably never see him. Jordan.
It sounds like he's like decent at everything, and it's not clear if he's good enough at anything to get on the field.
It feels like Will Randall, you would see him in like year 5, where he's just like downloaded everything and then he becomes so reliable that you have to play him type thing. But as far as like the pure athleticism that's also in the room, Randall doesn't have that. Jordan Washington, very important player this spring, got hurt. Bummer. So that kind of changed the complexion of the room. He should be a special pass catcher. We'll have to see him in blocking. I have the tape from early practice of Coach Banks was on him to get him blocking. He still has a ways to go in his blocking technique, not to be surprising though. But I think he's a special NFL receiving type tight end talent. Winston, ton of hype about him. They like his intelligence. They like his reliability, that kind of stuff. He's just young. So we have to see how he can do there. And then Nick Townsend is a player that I think everyone's very excited for.
Except Jordan Washington.
Who will be a special NFL talent as well. So Eric said it. Not this year, but next year he thinks this will be the best tight end room in the country. So
I don't know next year. Somebody has to block in line. I don't know if Townsend and Winston are like the exciting next things there. And I don't know if either of them can be inline blockers.
We'll see.
Washington could be anything because he's like just big and more of a blank canvas kind of guy.
Yeah. But tight end's interesting. Next year, I still think we need a blocking tight end in the portal. Just a dumb meathead. Played at North Wisconsin Technical University. He's 35 years old. That's what I want. And then just likes to smack helmets. That's what I would enjoy as an addition. But, Ian, before we keep going, let's hear a word from Academy.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction. Look at that. The stories you'll bring back, even the true ones. And already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
Also, thank you, Academy, for that ultimate tailgate giveaway. Make sure you guys come to Texas versus Texas A&M this Friday. All right. Let's move quicker, Ian. Let's move through the offensive line. Just kind of one sentence takes. DJ Campbell has shown a big step up in leadership. We've heard that throughout all of spring. That's really important. Of course, we know he has NFL athleticism. If he can fully unlock it and most importantly, be assignment sound this season, I think that's great news for the room.
Everything sounds positive.
Yep. All right, Umeozulu. We haven't heard, hey, left guard is figured completely out. So, and that would be the position that NATO is going with. So I would have liked to hear left guard on lock. Umeozulu has it. I haven't heard that yet. So want to hear that. Malik Agbo headed out. Totally get it. What a likable guy. And we liked him for the big package. Cole Hudson, going to start. That's important. And then Connor Robertson, important depth in case Cole has issues at center.
Robertson being like decent is huge because it just creates depth because Hudson can play all three interior spots.
Yeah. So
I think that's left guard. I think it's less worried about than right tackle. Probably.
Right tackle. Jaden Chapman, we would like him in some big packages too. We want to hear more about him. Trevor Gooseby, we love at left tackle, NFL. Connor Stroh, big player. needs to get his feet faster. Even when I was watching him at Under Armour, 2 years ago, whatever that camp was, I think it was at Arlington Martin. He's a big guy and he moves like he's big. So he just needs to get faster with his feet, in my opinion. Andre Kojo, young player, came in at like 17 or 16, turning 17, super young. We've heard great returns out of him. He's been a welcome surprise and getting good reviews. Brandon Baker, it was the heir apparent to right tackle, but I guess it's not 100% clicked there. I don't know if that's mental eval or physical or what it is. We just know that Baker didn't grab the right tackle spot, and that's why we want to look at it in the portal. So kind of where are you at overall with the offensive line room? Are you feel good about it? Do you feel comfortable, or do you need to see more?
I heard that they really only think they have like 7 guys that can play championship football in the line right now, or that they will be able to play in the fall. And presumably that's Campbell, Neto, Hudson, Robertson, Gooseby, Campbell, Umeogulu, Hudson, Robertson, Gooseby, and then probably like Joe and Baker, I guess. So some of these young guys have not quite generated returns in terms of like guys that they could actually play and win SEC games with. So health is a little bit of a concern. They need to be healthy this year. And it sounds like they still need, even to get there, they still need like Baker to really put it together for fall.
I feel I'm like next year, I think Kibble will be there. And I know like Nick Brooks, they feel really good about him. So as far as next year of these young guys, even Daniel Cruz at center potential, I feel good about next year. But this year depth is a little bit questionable.
Yeah. If you can get to 7 or 8, you're usually gravy. Even 6. Like the way they armor those guys up with braces now, and then they'll just like play through injury basically. I feel okay on the offensive line.
Cool. Do you want to right tackle in the portal?
No, I think you got to make it work with Baker. If it's not working with Baker, then I think they would have already made a move if they didn't think it was going to work with Baker.
And you're talking about NIL considerations there as well?
Yeah, I think Baker is a 5-star out of like what Mater Dei. Was he from Mater Dei?
Yeah.
If he's not panning out, then like you need to be having some David Stone type conversations with him.
But also, man, I feel like the acceleration of that position has gotten stupid due to NIL. I mean, we're literally asking like second-year players. It's like, why aren't you starting at right tackle at the University of Texas? Like, it's getting how we're speeding up the development timeline for high-paid.
Well, you
silly to me.
You don't give those big paydays to guys unless you think they can play early like that.
Yeah.
And if you think they can and then they can't, then you have to move off of them.
But it's also the reality too is you can't let however much cap space sit on the bench for 2 or 3 years anymore. Yes. But it's also I think we're incentivizing the wrong things there. Nothing we can do about it. The money's the money. But I also think it's also it's getting absurd when we're like, why isn't a second-year player starting at right tackle? It's like, is there a second-year player?
Well, right. But it's not. It's only a second-year 5-star. Like nobody's that worried about like Kibble or Cruz. Like people will ask every now and then on the board, like, what about Cruz? Is Cruz not showing up yet? Kojo, whatever. Nobody's really that worried about it. Like if you take these like 3-4-star guys and they develop for 3 or 4 years before you ever even see them, that's fine. But like if it's a freak 5-star that had to be brought into the program with NIL inducements because they're going to get them from everywhere in the country, they have to play early.
Yeah.
That's probably like something to watch for in college football these days now is which teams are getting ROI on their 5-stars. Because that's like how big a thing is that now?
Yeah, it's huge. All right. We got like 15 minutes, so we got to move quick on these. And I haven't added our latest addition, I realized. But how are you feeling at defensive line, even with the new addition? Talk about potentially adding the Syracuse defensive tackle too. We talked a lot about it on Friday. I don't really want to beat a dead horse, but just a quick take on the defensive tackle room.
They just need guys that can go in there and be in the way and eat blocks. And Brevard can do that for sure. I think he'll be very effective at that. I think Canoe can do that in bits and spurts. We'll see. Shaw should be able to do that if he can be healthy. He could do maybe more than that if he's healthy and good. And then they do need some disruption here, like just at least a little bit. And it sounds like January is plan A for creating that disruption. And plan B is Maryland guy, Justice Terry.
Man, the plan B is edges and linebackers, baby. I mean, that's what we're hoping we can just kill you with raw athleticism. These guys look like they teleport. They move so fast, man. Unblockable. But
three down fronts would help. Okay.
Disruptive enough to win a natty?
He probably has to be good enough. That probably is like, if you had like two questions, is Texas going to win the national championship? It'd probably be like, can someone get open outside against man coverage? And can Alex January be disruptive against good teams? That might be the two. That might be it. Those two questions.
Cool. All right, edge. I'm going to go out on a limb. I feel good about the edge position.
Yeah.
Bosick, we want him to get healthy. Burke, love him. Colin Simmons. Man, the returns on Colin Simmons, not even Texas, just NFL-wise, like everybody's in love with this kid. And, sources said he's the best player on the team, all of that. He's a special player. Enjoy him. And then look to see him maximize. And I don't worry about his maximization because the motor on him, he plays like he's not ranked. And that's a cliche, but really to be that talented physically and never loaf, run guys down 20 yards down the field, that's a special combination of God-given athleticism and a strong mindset. Zena, also hearing great returns on him. Lance Jackson, one of the players I'm most excited for. First rounder to me, going to be an absolute problem.
Already good return on him too.
Yep, already good there. And then Smith Orogbo, who is young, but they like
him.
Yeah, you won't see him. You'll see him down the road, but
yeah.
Cool, man. As position, everybody knows it's going to be a special group we have this year. I don't think there's a deeper edge room in Texas history. Maybe you can argue frontline starters, but I think from spot 1 to like spot 6, I feel really good about.
Maybe just like 2008 when they had Melton, Kendall, and Arakpo all on the same team. It's the only one that comes to mind that's like comparable.
Yeah. All right, linebacker. Also a position we're going to have to heavily lean on. Feel really good here too. Moving Trey more to that Will style. He can blitz, but play linebacker. Brad Spence, really good returns out of Arkansas. He's a pass rusher, but we've also heard that he's been doing good at read and react, which is the core of being a linebacker. Anthony Hill, see ya. You're going to the NFL. Leonga, another year. T'Anthony Smith, young player that we're going to have to force reps to because he's got a bright future. Elijah Bo Barnes showing off, a young guy. And then Jonathan Cunningham, who's actually got some nickel looks too, was more of a edge style guy in high school. But feel really good about linebacker. How do you feel?
Great. They have all the pieces, and they have like 2 of everything you want.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, we're at the point of linebacker where we're like trying to engineer looks and ways to get players on the field. And that's
at least I am. The coaching staff needs to pick up their end of the deal here. You can't just be Ian on the internet.
Yeah. But it's trying to engineer ways to like get these guys on the field. That means you're in a good position. And then
Do you
finally,
bring up that Living Free in UT said Simmons trainer says he's never satisfied and always looking to get better. Said he has the Jordan Kobe mentality. I have this suspicion that Simmons has like a special needs little brother that is like very special. Well, it's fair, like he's like very involved in like his care and like loves him and like does different stuff for people who have special needs kids in their families. And it kind of seems to me like there might be like a forced maturity and responsibility ownership that comes from having someone like that in his life.
Yeah.
I don't think this sounds like I'm taking anything away from Simmons, but just the fact that he's like had to step up and be a big brother and like help take care of a sibling, it kind of feels like he has that like Coach Boone, you know, I had to raise, not like, I think Simmons has involved family.
he does.
I'm presenting this very awkwardly. It just seems like Simmons has like a special thing about him where he's like, he's not goofing around.
He's not.
serious in his craft and he owns responsibility. And he just seems like he has tremendous maturity to help him maximize.
So we interviewed Simmons and his mom for their charity for his little brother. And so he's got a great mom too, man.
Yeah.
But I think there's a depth of soul that Simmons has. I think that he's a dynamic human being, and more than just being a special athlete, that translates to his mental eval. And he's also got insane confidence. You know, Micah Parsons, why'd you change your number from 11 to 1? It's like, I got to do my other thing. And another response was because I'm number 1. It's like, so
I'm the one.
yeah. So he's just he's a special kid, man. And like we said, he doesn't take plays off. He's a first round talent, man. He could hang out if he wanted to. He could go to the draft and get drafted. But he's running down running backs 20 yards down the field. That's a different thing. When you combine those things, that's special.
He's like LeBron James, where you're like, you see that sometimes athletes will have just everything is easy for them. They just have the genetic jackpot. They're so good at so many things so easily.
Mm-hmm.
But then so many of them just don't maximize it.
Yeah.
Like
Well, some of it, right? If some of it's just genetic, there's some. I know NFL players that like don't love football. I mean, there's just, like it happens all the time. Like they just, hey, I'm really good at this naturally. But that when you combine that, right, that special God-given stuff with actually loving the sport, wanting to get better.
Big guys in football, tall people in basketball.
Yeah. What is it, like 3% of all people over 6 whatever are in the NBA?
Yeah.
So it's just like sometimes you just get routed because because of your parents, So it doesn't mean just because you have God-given stuff that you love the game and it makes a difference. Can Simmons end up the best pass rusher in Texas history? Yes.
Yes.
And because he's also got 3 years, he'll have 3 full years to display it.
Yep.
So yeah, simply yes. Defensive back. How you feeling? Not as good as last year, man. Man, I love, dude. An all-time secondary to me, and not harkening back to like the championship years, but man, the Makuba, Taft, Barron secondary will always be one of my favorites. Not probably my favorite. I love that role.
It's hard to think of whenever you think of the best teams in modern Texas history, they inevitably have awesome secondaries.
Mm-hmm. And mature secondaries. So how are you feeling? We're not going to get last year's secondary. That one was special, but how do you like this room?
I like the room. I don't know how they're going to get everyone that needs to be on the field. I don't know who's going to play star or if they play dime. I know they're going to play dime, maybe more than last year, it sounds like from things we've heard. But I don't know who fits where. And ideally you have guys on the inside that are really smart and versatile. I'm not entirely sure who that's going to be.
What Eric said a couple weeks ago in a report that this stuck with me is that this team won't be as inexperienced, but they'll be more physical. So I guess to me is like, say you don't have all the headiness of a Barron, who's like such a smart player, but I think you still got NFL athletes, and these guys are like chirping. Like we've heard that Malik Muhammad is like hitting dudes in practice when they were talking about like top trash talkers. Muhammad's there. So we might have this like intimidation edge factor in the secondary this year that would be interesting, right? You have Jelani McDonald, special athlete, likes to hit, Taft's down. And so then you get Muhammad. So we wouldn't have the pure understanding of every play that we did last year, but man, maybe we're just kind of like Monstars from Space Jam. Maybe we're just mean, and you don't want to catch that ball against us. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, I think that's pretty possible. I saw an interview with Taft where he actually looked like maybe he's getting some weight gain, some good weight gain.
Yeah.
He looked a little bigger.
So I like it. Jalen, hopefully he can stick it outside corner. Of course, we know Manny. Kobe Black at that third corner spot. Wardell Mack has been getting good praise in the slot. And then Taft and McDonald in the back end. Hopefully Derek Williams returns strong too. And then we have a bunch of NFL guys all over the place. They just haven't played together in that exact order a bunch.
I wonder if like Wardell Mack just like coming out of nowhere and being a monster, that would be the thing that would just make this whole thing come together really easily. And you would know that this is going to be an elite unit.
Yeah. Do you think Taft, Muhammad, Derek Williams, Jelani, and Jalen is the best 5-man secondary package?
So
I think he's putting Jelani at nickel in this situation.
If Jelani translates well to nickel, and Derek Williams is back on form to what he was showing, and like not only back healthy, but like realizing the potential that he'd been showing, then I think yes. Because Derek Williams was just an absolute eraser because of his range on the back end.
Dude, when he's up on the perch, man, he can get to anywhere.
He can get anywhere and make a tackle and like bring the guy down.
Yeah.
So I think that it seems like the staff thinks that that's where it's at. We'll see what happens in the fall. We're really not going to know how that's going to come together until the fall.
All right. Ian, I would be a fool to not ask you what you thought of the David Stone saga with Oklahoma before we head out of here. We'll make it quick, but I need to take advantage of your Sooner knowledge here. What? Give us a quick breakdown of what occurred.
So based on what I've read from Sooner Scoop and the reporting that they've done over there, which I recommend everybody, George Stoya and that crew. In the winter or after the season, they took their five-star defensive tackle, David Stone, aside, and they're like, hey, we're going to have to cut your pay because you're not producing like a five-star needs to quickly enough. It's just the same thing we were just talking about. And he did not like that. But he was like, okay. And I think they like redid his deal where it was more incentivized. Like, you're only going to make this money if you play X many snaps or generate this kind of production or playmaking. And so they did that, and he was like not thrilled with it.
Well, you shouldn't take that deal because production's nonsense. Because BV could decide that he wants to go to a 3-down or a 4-down. There's so many schematic things that could stop you from reaching an incentive-based contract. And then on top of that, you also incentivize your coaches or actually your money managers to cheat you out of that deal. So if you're on the edge and you need one more sack, well, guess what? You might not get as many reps that game because it would save them $400,000. It's not worth one sack. So also,
I don't know what the specific incentives were. But
That's what I'm saying. Anything that's hyper incentivized like that, snap count, number counting stuff is total nonsense, and you should never take that deal because it incentivizes them to rob you if you get close to it. Because what am I going to do if there's 20 sacks different? If I'm a money manager, hey man, I don't play him 20 reps. He doesn't meet a rep allotment, and I save $400,000, and I can buy a player next year. I'm buying a player.
Okay. I don't know if it was quite that Machiavellian, but I hear you.
They do it in the league.
He didn't like it. And apparently he was getting offers to jump into the portal in the spring from schools that were like, nah, forget that. You're a 5-star. We will pay you like a 5-star. I don't know specifically who, but Oklahoma fans definitely suspected Miami. Miami loves to throw money around at defensive tackles. And then Ohio State really, really badly needs defensive tackles.
They need them, yeah.
So for a minute there, I was like, this is hilarious for OU, but I hope they didn't just send a 5-star defensive tackle to Ohio State. Like, thanks a lot.
Which is not good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he jumps in the transfer portal. Their fans freak out. And then
and team revolt, it seemed like too. There's a little
oh, really?
the other players were not happy about that.
Well, it doesn't sound like something that I would be happy about if it's like, wait, if I don't, y'all are gonna renege on what we agreed to and start pulling my money if I don't.
Well, it said I think it was Sooner Scoop, but it was reporting. It wasn't Twitter fan talk. It was somebody reported that the defensive tackle room was not happy about how that went down, especially because he'd been having a good spring. He's well liked. So there was not only the fans freaking out, there was a little bit of locker room mutiny that it seemed to be occurring there as well.
Well, they talked him into staying. And I have one guess as to how.
How?
I bet you they just caved.
Well, they would have had to.
Right.
But that's my favorite part with like Nagy is that he puts the sunglasses emoji. Like he didn't just he just got leveraged in front of the nation. So it's just like, hey man. And then also, what did you just going forward? How did you? It's like the Cowboys, dude. Jerry Jones is the dumbest negotiator ever. He says we're never going to pay a player. He ends up paying them more than he would have initially had to sign for every year, acting like he's a business guy in that regard. So all you did was teach future talent how do you win a negotiation with OU is you call their bluff.
Yeah. And my favorite part of that was Nagy coming in with the sunglasses, which felt like Nagy being like, don't worry, OU fans, I'm here now. I'm going to clean all this up. Even though like all of the reporting was talking about Todd Bates and Venables meeting with the family and all this to smooth it all out. And then Nagy just like sunglass meme and leveraged cave. And then it's like, we got a top-notch GM now. This kind of thing won't happen anymore. You don't need to worry.
Yeah, but how did it happen in the first place? Because your GM was there and you let him go in the portal. And everything I've heard about David Stones, man, is that he's coming on. He's well-liked. He's a good kid, good player. I got to quit saying kid. Good player, all of that stuff. So it's not on David Stone. It seemed like there's still, shockingly, some mismanagement going on at OU.
They have I was arguing with the OU guy I know, and he was like, Venables made this mistake and this mistake, but that's okay. You fix it, and then you're good. And I was like, I don't know, dude. This program, to me, feels like for OU, Texas had the stretch where I called them the Murphy's Law program.
Yeah.
Or it's like something would always go wrong. It'd be like, well, I think if this and this happen, we're in good shape. Let's focus really hard on making sure these two things happen, and then this roster should totally come together. And then like X, Y, and Z that you didn't even anticipate would go wildly wrong, and it would just submarine the whole thing. And there was never any margin for error with the roster construction or what needed to go right, and some things would go wrong and everything would fall apart. And it's just a sign of a leader that is not in command and that's just running around. What do you call when the ship's sticking on water and you're trying to?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not jettisoning, but for a boat, it's like jettisoning fuel. You're trying to, but I can't. It's the inverse for a boat versus
it feels like Oklahoma's in that mode all the time.
Well, you want to be asking yourself what has to go horribly wrong for us not to do well versus what has to go perfectly right for us to do well. So it's like the wrong question is if these 4 things go right, we're going to be good. You're already in trouble when you're having to think like that.
They're also, I would be remiss if I didn't point this out. I'm always talking about college football. You need the big disruptive D tackles or guys that can hold the point because those are really rare and essential. And then you need the big play outside receivers that are just the trump card in college football. And Oklahoma, since getting Nagy, their 2 big things have been spending big on a portal running back.
Right.
After their only maybe decent outside receiver was lost for the year in practice, getting injured. It's like, oh, don't worry, we'll get an amazing running back who may or may not be fully healthy after an injury season last year, right? And we're going to mess around and maybe lose our 5-star defensive tackle.
And then glasses emoji, like you solved the problem that you caused.
They're
funny over there, man.
They're a total mess. Their fans have no idea what to do. A lot of their fans have never tasted anything but champagne. And
we know what dysfunction looks like and feels like.
We know exactly.
Yeah, and so we've tried to warn them. But yeah, it's tough when you don't have experience with it. They'll know after the BV stuff is done what it feels like and how to spot it, but they've been such a consistent program, it's hard for them to even see it.
They'll think they know, and then the next guy will come in and be different and be like, oh, he doesn't do the BV things, we're good. And then they'll learn that there's like a whole other rash of other mistakes you can make.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing,
the red guy, which I kind of doubt right now, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, Ian. Appreciate you coming on and pinch hitting for Eric and Charlie. And then on the Wednesday show that's normally with Ian, it'll be with Eric and Charlie. We'll switch it up. But it was fun talking through the roster, man. We're in our last week of spring ball, dude. Then we're going to have to go even more into talking season during the summer. So we'll see. Guys, it was fun hanging out. Chat, thank you guys so much. And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. There you go.